We got Sean Rose, who's going to be stirring up trouble, bringing you the stories, making the news this week. Sean, what is the problem? What's the fussing about now?
Greetings, viewers. No fussing at all, except that the opposition members are disputing the August 14th, 8th sitting of the House of Assembly. In their mind, the House was adjourned illegally, improperly. They suggest that the procedures were not followed by the acting Speaker of the House of Assembly, Honorable Delores Christopher. In fact, it was a joint press conference where we got much of this information from. The opposition members came together. You may recall that the PEP, we have two opposition parties on the opposition bench. The People's Empowerment Party, the PEP, led by Honorable Alvin Christopher, representative for the 2nd District, and the Virgin Islands Party, the VIP, led by Honorable Ralph T. O'Neill, along with his VIP colleagues, 1st District Representative Honorable Andrew Foy, and the 3rd District Representative Honorable Julian Fraser. Now, among the many comments, we heard Honorable Foy saying that the improper closure to the 8th sitting of the House of Assembly presents a constitutional crisis for the territory. Let's hear him in this clip. Honorable Foy, you said that the improper adjournment of the 8th sitting, as you define it, presents a constitutional crisis for the territory. Are you exaggerating?
No.
And you also said that that the situation presents some legal ramifications, if I recall correctly, without seeing the notes, for the territory as well. What specifically are these legal ramifications?
Well, I was saying for you in Minister Rice Farm, whatever laws have been passed during a day, and the House has not been legally constituted. The question is, can those laws be legally enforced? Because the House was never legally adjourned.
And they're saying that maybe some of the laws, some of the bills that were presented or tabled at the 8th sitting may be challenged in a court of law at some point.
Well, let me ask you, Sean. This happened sort of late in the proceedings, didn't it? And all the laws that were passed would have been passed earlier when there was a quorum, when everything was in order. And so because something may have happened at the end that threw the whole session out, is that what they're saying? Well, I mean, as a layperson who's not familiar with the procedure, I mean, how is that explained?
Well, to sum it up without trying to get into the legal fraternity, without proper documentation myself, I would say that parliamentary procedures does require that a sitting is brought to an adjournment, if that is the case, using a specific format. And usually the Speaker of the House would move the motion, and that motion would be seconded by members of the House of Assembly. That is considered the one of the contemporary constitutional ways to close a sitting. However, much of this in anyone's mind is pretty much a legal argument, and you can really present various scenarios that will justify whatever happens in a circumstance like that. So it is not really a wrong or right situation, and I don't think it's really a good time at this point to say whether or not the bills would be illegal or if they can be actually challenged. But the member says that he thinks they can be challenged because the sitting wasn't closed properly. So it's up there pretty much in the court of public opinion to present various sides of that story.
And so how big a deal is this? I mean, is it something that you have to go and do that session over?
There's that possibility.
And what is the crisis? What was the emergency?
Well, that's why I asked.
Are we going to be possessed by some?
I don't think it goes that far, but that's why I asked whether or not
there was an exaggeration. It just sounds strange to me. I mean, what's the emphasis on this whole thing? What the opposition hopes to gain, and what they're trying to point out that the Speaker...
Well, don't slight the fact that you ought to stick by the rules.
Okay.
Procedures, whether it's in the issuance of a contract or the way you conduct the people's business in the House of Assembly, the highest lawmaking body of the land.
So now we sticklers for the rules now.
Yes, and we should always be, shouldn't we?
Okay.
Well, speaking of being a stickler for the rules, let's move to another topic quickly. We asked the member for the 3rd District if he was willing to comment on an item we saw on the order paper, we being the journalist. On the order paper for the 9th sitting scheduled for this Thursday, September 11, is a very interesting report by the Auditor General. It focuses on the Seacoast Bay Development Project. And I don't know what is in that report as yet, but I can ask a few questions. Is it that the 3rd District representative is uncomfortable about this report? And as I asked him, are there any implications politically and otherwise?
There is a report that is supposed to be tabled in the House. How do you feel about that report and the timing of that report?
I think
just to do with the Seacoast Bay.
I think you ought to leave that alone for now.
Okay.
Please, leave that alone for now.
You're
You're gonna have a field day when that time comes.
Why, it's a hot report.
You're gonna have a field day when the time comes.
Implications for governance, for the VIP.
Do you understand? Leave that alone for now.
Okay. So they don't want to discuss the things they don't want to discuss, only the things that they want to discuss.
Well, the member did ask that we not judge him by his past.
Okay. That's all right.
So we have that option maybe of looking into the future and arriving at some conclusion as to how we can judge him politically, I suppose.
That's interesting in terms of, especially in terms of looking for a job, being interviewed for a job. You know.
Is he looking for a job?
Well, of course, he's looking for a job. He wants to be the next premier, and if he wants to be the next premier, then he's looking to be our servant. And we would like to know how good a servant he would make. And I don't understand how we have to determine that if we don't look at his resume and look at his past experience and job history.
Well,
so, I mean, I guess we'll start it out. And I guess maybe there are other ways to determine his competency.
Well, the Seacoast Bay Development Project report, that Auditor General's report on that particular project will be a public document as of Thursday. So you will have a chance to peruse the document and see whether or not he is someone who you would like to work with you, so to speak. Nevertheless, we are looking forward to see if the opposition will actually turn up at the sitting and the extent to which they will contribute to that. Of course, one may ask as well, having said that the 8th sitting on August 14th was illegitimate, if I may go that far, are they going to legitimize the 9th sitting by turning up?
Well, I thought the Speaker of the House, the substantive Speaker of the House,
Honorable Moses Catlett,
yes, explained the situation and went and delved into the nuance of the standing orders.
Yes, she did refer to Standing Order 9.
And explain what the situation was and saw no reason for apology or to change the decision of the Deputy Speaker, who was the Speaker at that time.
Well, interestingly,
so I don't know what...
Foy is presenting a different viewpoint on that as well. He's saying that you can't take that for what simply at face value, if I may paraphrase. He's suggesting that you have to apply the situation based on what transpired in the House. And in that case, the House didn't recess and return with a quorum. There was no quorum after the recess. And he's saying in that sense, Standing Order 9 doesn't apply.
So I guess it's who the perspective of what went on in the House at that time by the Speaker and by Member Foy and others. So it seemed like interpretation of what actually happened in the House, because she's basing her judgment on what happened in the House, and he's basing his judgment and assertions on what's happening in the House. So I guess we'll have to see
different sides.
We'll have to see how it plays out. It's quite interesting. It's I don't know. It's to me sad in a way that we're going through all of this. I don't know how this is benefiting and advancing our growth and development, whether socially, politically, or economically. It seems like just haranguing and
political maneuvering?
Maneuvering and fussing and fighting, you know, the lust for power and all that sort of stuff.
Or maybe it's keeping the government on their toes.
Maybe keeping the government on their toes. Well, anyhow, Sean, thanks a lot.
You're welcome.
Thanks a lot for that report, and we look forward to seeing more. And certainly this week, and Thursday is going to be an interesting day in the House of Assembly, and we'll see how things play out and how everything works.